started her business about 2 years ago, and when she first started, I noticed some immediate changes in her time and her focus. She was spending a lot more time on her phone, in the car, and she'd be on her phone. We'd be sitting on the couch watching some TV, and again, she's on her phone. We'd go out to dinner, and she'd be on her phone. So I started to feel like she wasn't able to even put the phone down long enough to have a conversation with me. Also, our meals at home began to change too. Our arrangement had always been that she cooked and I cleaned up. And that was always the way we did things. It worked for us. But after she started the business, our meals became simpler, and suddenly I needed to help with some of the cooking and other things around the house that I hadn't normally helped with, and I was not initially happy about that at all. That's when I realized that some changes had to take place.
I think one of the most obvious changes that happened when I started my own business was just my time management and my focus. Whereas before I started, I was very focused on the house and decorating and cooking, the kids, all of it. And all of a sudden, I had this new, almost like a child in my life that was taking up a lot of my time. And that child happened to live in my cell phone. I was on my cell phone a lot. If we went somewhere, I was on the phone in the car. I was cooking dinner and I was answering messages. I don't think people quite understand what it takes to start up a brand new business. While it was convenient and it was flexible for our life because my cell phone fit in my purse and I can do it in the car and I could do it while I was cooking dinner, it definitely was a change for our family because my focus was completely shifted. I think one of the things that I noticed as far as emotionally what was going on, I think as women, we tend to feel guilt about everything. We question, am I being a good enough mom? Am I feeding my kids well? Are they socially well-rounded? Am I being the kind of wife that I need to be? And so it's a constant questioning of yourself all day, every day. And if you're not, kudos to you, but I think most women struggle with that feeling of I'm not enough and that guilt that's there. And this added a whole nother element to that because those questions about myself were still there, except now I was in something and I found something that I felt really passionate about. It made me excited. I wanted to spend time doing it. I wanted to immerse myself in it. And I felt guilty for that. I felt guilty that I wanted to spend so much time doing something that didn't involve my husband or my kids. I felt guilty that I was so excited about doing something that was what appeared to be just for me. And so while it was an exciting time for me, it was also a time where I was left really questioning myself. And so I knew that some changes probably needed to be made.
I wanted an immediate change, and so I did what anyone would do. I tried to guilt her into getting off of the phone. Well, let me tell you, that really helped things. No, the opposite of helped. Once we finally had an honest conversation about things, I realized that she already felt guilty about all the time she was spending, and I was just making things worse. So if anyone really asked me how to handle the conversation or to handle the situation differently, I can tell you from experience, take a step back first and just think about it. Think about it from the standpoint of she has something she's very passionate about. She has something she's finding some fulfillment and joy in doing, and is bringing in some income. That's what I wish I would have thought a little more clearly about, because then I think it leads you to a conversation, and have that conversation about maybe some compromises on time and schedule and work habits and how you feel about the way things currently are and what adjustments you can make. I know when we had that conversation, it wasn't very easy, and again, I wasn't exactly coming at it from the best place, where I had really thought through how she feels and what this means to her. So I would definitely recommend that and wish I had done that myself.
If I could go back to myself about 3 years ago when life was kind of crazy and what I had said previously about just kind of being out of balance, my focus had shifted a lot. There's a lot I would tell myself. The first thing I think I'd probably change how I responded a little bit. I was already feeling a little uneasy and guilty about the amount of time I was spending on the phone. And so some of our arguments came out of the fact that we were both coming at it from, to be quite honest, a selfish place. I wasn't putting Luke before myself. And he wasn't putting me before him. And that's just not how things work in a marriage. If you want a successful marriage, and not just a successful one, but one where you are flourishing and you really want the best for the other and you're happy, you have to put their needs before yours. And I think in any conversation that you have with each other, that has to be the primary focus. His needs before mine, her needs before his, and the outcome will be so much better. I realized that when Luke approached me out of love and rather than guilt-tripped, the outcome was a lot better. When I stopped being so defensive, the outcome was a lot better. And I think just having a conversation about the fact that this was important to me and I really wanted to make a go at this. And because he was putting my needs before his, he was willing to support me in that. But then because I was putting his needs before mine, I also realized that I needed to make some time during the day where he and I were connecting as a couple, and it was more than just over my business. So it really doesn't have to be like 2 hours every evening where you have each other's undivided attention. And I think some of that comes with age and experience in marriage. I remember early on in marriage, I needed so much of Luke's time, or at least I thought I did. And as I've grown in our relationship, I have come to the understanding that when we choose to spend our time on something, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's more important. And so it was good to have those conversations that even though I was choosing to spend the time on the business, it did not mean that it was more important than Luke. But it did mean that I needed to take some time in the morning, whether it was while we were getting ready or eating breakfast, just to ask him about his day, ask him about his job, be interested in his life, putting him before myself. Times in the evening, it meant that maybe I am on my phone, but we're together, sitting on the couch, and I'm back and forth between watching Netflix and working on my phone, but our arms are next to each other and we're physically touching and he knows that I'm there. It means that I don't seclude myself. I don't take my phone and go into another room and leave him completely out of it. When I am working and he's around, he's there with me. And when he asks me a question, I put the phone down and I answer the question. Or I communicate and I say, right now, I need to finish what I'm doing. I want to hear this, so just give me 2 minutes. It's all about communication. Rather than just ignoring him when he talks to me, it's stopping and saying, I want to hear this. You're important to me, but give me 2 minutes to finish what I'm doing. The response that you give one another can make all the difference in the world. But it takes putting him before yourself, putting her before yourself to make this work. Putting your needs back here and their needs in the front, and I promise you can make anything work.